I don't know about you, but the holiday season is so busy. I always end up with last minute things to check off my list, which sometimes include Christmas cards. Today I'm going to show you 3 super simple painting techniques that will help you be able to whip out some quick and simple cards that will create stunning results that you can achieve in literally just minutes. And the best part about it is that these 3 things I'm going to show you can be mixed, matched, and arranged in countless ways. So let's pull out our painting supplies and get right into it. Now, besides our watercolor paints, paper towel, and water, we also, of course, need some brushes. Today I will be using a few brushes from my specially designed Cadmium brush set. These completely sold out the first week they were available, but I'm excited to announce that Cadmium is going to let me do a second batch. They are in the production process at the moment, and I'm hoping they'll be ready by the end of January. So if you'd like to be notified when they become available again, I have a link for that listed in the description of this video that you can sign up to be notified with. And as a side note, I will also have listed in the description of this video more details, information, and links to any of the other products you see me using today. For today, though, I think I'll pull out the 1/4" angle brush. This is actually the key brush for some of the techniques today, and if you haven't used an angle brush much yet, then you are in for a treat. I also think I'll pull out the number 3 round and the number 1 rigger as well. Now, to help make these last minute cards even more quick, I'll just be using this little 5x7 100% cotton watercolor booklet. I love this little watercolor pad for projects just like this because it saves me time of not having to measure and cut my larger watercolor paper. But of course, if you don't have the smaller pre-cut booklets, you absolutely can cut normal paper sheets down to any size you want. All right, let's get right into it. Now, I already have some colors that I'm wanting on my tray from previous Christmas projects, so I'll just freshen these up a bit and we'll be ready to go. First up, I have some pure cadmium red. Now, I want my colors today to be very vibrant, so I am keeping the color pretty concentrated. There's more pigment than water. I just have enough water to make it fluid. Next up, we'll mix a darker shadow color. This is just a mixture of cadmium red with some alizarin crimson to darken the color, but also help retain some of the vibrancy. And then maybe I'll add a touch of ivory black to darken it up even more. So let's go over how to paint a simple Christmas flower with just a few strokes of the brush. Now, if you'd rather, you can simply paint this with just the cadmium red, but if you'd like to add a bit of a two-toned effect to your petals, I'll show you a fun and awesome technique you can try. I've shown how to do this technique in previous tutorials, so let me actually pull up the close-up footage of what I'm talking about from that tutorial so you can see it here more clearly. The trick is learning how to load your brush with color. This footage is using different colors than what I'll be using today, but the technique is the same, so just keep that in mind. First off, I'll get the bristles full of the rich cadmium red color, and then I'll actually swipe the longer half of the bristles in the darker shadow red. And that is the key to this technique. Just swipe the longer bristles into the darker color about halfway into the bristles. Now that the brush is loaded with paint, we can paint our first stroke. I will turn my brush so that the longer point is facing downward, place the tip onto the paper, press down on the bristles to get a nice broad stroke, and then pull and curve the brush in sort of a half circle shape. This completes the first half of the flower petal, so to finish it off, I'll hold the brush in the same way and use the same stroke, only just curving it the opposite direction. You'll see that the short end of the bristles follow or even overlap the edge of the first stroke to completely fill in the petal. You may need to rotate or turn your brush in your hand slightly with the second stroke so that the shorter end of the bristles can create a nice point on the top here. And then notice that the shadow color is more prominent on this inner point of the petal, creating a nice gradient of values. And sometimes you'll even get sort of a swirl of this dark color, which is really fun too. I don't really usually need to mess with the petals much after this. 2 strokes is really all that you should need. And at this point, all that's left to do is repeat that same process over again until your flower is complete. Usually I'm able to paint 5 or 6 of these flower petals to finish it off nicely. Just remember to reload your brush with paint at the beginning of each new petal so that it will be rich and full of color, as well as have that nice dark two-tone effect. Isn't this so fun? The angle brush can take a bit of practice to get the hang of, but it is seriously one of the easiest ways to paint quick petals, flowers, and leaves with literally just 1 or 2 strokes of the brush. Definitely a technique that is worth practicing. Once as you've got the strokes down, you can truly whip up some nice cards in just minutes. And I know right now I'm focusing more on Christmas, but if you change the colors up a little bit, these same flowers can be appropriate and beautiful for any season or time of the year. All right, for the second part to this quick little card, we just need to add in a few leaves to offset and complement the flower. So let me freshen up some of these green colors on my tray really quickly. I'll be using some pure sap green as a base color for the leaf, and for the darker shadow mixture, I have here sap green mixed with ivory black. The good news here is that we are going to be using the exact same brush strokes that we just used on the flower petals. We'll even load the brush in the same way, starting with the base color of the sap green and then swiping the longer half or tip of the bristles into the darker shadow green. Now we'll paint in the leaves using the exact same strokes, painting one half of the leaf and then the other. You can even adjust the sizes of the leaves a little bit by making some larger or some smaller ones by simply not pulling the brush out as far with the stroke. The fun part here is that you can just be creative, use your artistic eye, and add in the flowers and leaves. There are really so many options. You're welcome to follow along with my designs, or you can absolutely come up with your own. The trick here is to not get too crazy with the amount of leaves just yet. We're going to add in some little berry branches as well, so just keep that in mind. We can always come back in here and add in more leaves to fill in the space later, but you can't take them away once as they're there. So that is really the main part of this card. All that's left to do is add in little accents to finish it off. So let's pull out the number 3 round brush now and paint in some little berry bundles. Because I'm wanting these cards to be fast and easy, I'm not going to be adding a lot of detail or shading to these berries today. We are just going to keep it fun and simple. So all I'm doing here is taking some cadmium red paint and literally painting in circles of color to represent the berries. All I'm doing to add in a bit of dimension here is just leaving a small white circle of unpainted area to give each berry a bit of a highlight. But that's it, just quick and simple. I'll paint a few of these little bundles surrounding the flower and leaves, and then when I feel like there's enough, I'll move on to the next step. I try to provide fun tutorials using a variety of skill levels. I have more quick and simple tutorials like this one today that are perfect for beginners or painters that don't have a lot of extra time on their hands. I also have more advanced tutorials that will challenge your skill level a little bit. Sometimes I paint free-handed with you, and other times I show you how to draw an outline for a piece. I often also provide outlines on my Etsy shop so you can simply trace the drawing and cut that totally out of the equation. Hopefully I have a little bit of something for everyone. If you do find that you're enjoying my painting and teaching style, I hope you'll subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss out on any of my new and upcoming tutorials. All right, well done. Let's let those berries dry just a little bit before we add in the twigs to tie them together. But while we wait, let's take a bit of concentrated gamboge color and paint a few dots of color in the center of the flower to represent the stamen area. Now for the finishing touch to this card. And I did say this painting had 3 elements to it, so I guess technically you might say this is 4. I don't know. But I'll pull out my rigger brush and a little bit of burnt umber and paint in the little stems, sticks, or twigs that connect everything together. When I paint the stems on the leaves, I may even just carry that line all the way up through the leaf to create a center vein line as well. And then I'll simply paint in some thin lines to connect the berry bundles together. This just completes and ties this little arrangement into one nice cohesive little piece. The best part about these cards is that now that you know these 3, or I guess maybe 4 painting techniques, you can mix, match, and create all sorts of different designs. This is the time to let your artistic creativity flow. So let me quickly show off a few ideas that I had to try with these techniques, and then I'll just let you have at it and have some fun painting. For this card, I basically used that same idea as before, but instead of painting it in the very center of the page, I actually moved it up slightly, leaving a little bit of space near the bottom area where I could write a little Christmas message. And actually, the main flower has 6 petals to this instead of just 5. It's kind of fun though, because even though this is patterned very similarly to the first one I just did, it does look different. The positioning of things, the amount or number of leaves and berries has changed, making it unique and special. So just keep that in mind as we go, that your cards are going to probably look different than mine, and that's absolutely okay. Now, because you already know the painting strokes to use, I'm going to go over these next few cards fairly quickly. Like I say, the techniques are exactly the same. The design is all that's different here. But this time I thought I'd try flipping the card to a vertical format and paint the main flower in the corner of the page rather than in the center. You might notice that I'm following the composition rule of big, medium, and small within the cards, which helps make them pleasing to the eye. The main flower is the big object, the leaves are the medium, and the berries the small. This card could be called done just like it is, and it's very nice, simple, and elegant. You could also add in some berries or a small flower in the opposite corner to set it off and frame it in. Now I chose to go ahead and write Merry Christmas on this one to fill in that empty space, but the choice is really up to you. For this final design I'll share with you, maybe I'll try some smaller flowers and see how that goes. I'm going to use the exact same strokes as before, I'm just not going to make them as long or as broad. And it might be fun, since these are smaller, to create a little bundle of them in this corner. If you choose to do this, it is a good idea to keep them close together and maybe even touching or overlapping just a little bit. Now, as I mentioned previously, you can try adding a flower in the opposite corner, so I think I'll give that a try and see how it goes. The idea is sort of to create a border for the middle area. I mean, heck, you could even use some gold paint and paint a line of color around the edge, whatever you want to try. That looks pretty good. Since I do have a nice border around the edge of this piece, I'll go ahead and write some words in the center of this card to really finish it off. And if you ever need to cheat a little bit and get more professional looking wording in here, you can pick a font that you like from your computer, print it out, and simply trace it on. And there we have it. I just painted 4 quick, simple, but pretty Christmas cards within just maybe a half hour worth of time. These really are perfect for those last-minute Christmas cards that you need to whip up in a jiffy. I hope you had some fun today and maybe even learned something new. If you did enjoy this tutorial, I hope you'll consider subscribing to my channel so I can continue to help you discover your artistic side.